On March 23rd, 2001, a website would be made using Angelfire, which would be updated with online journal entries by Ted Hedgeman. The journal would innocently begin with Ted and his friend B wanting to get one last caving expedition in before the new year. He and his friend B would discover a strange cave that would grab a hold of Ted, and he would become obsessed with it, culminating in him making a last post on the website on May 19th, 2001, stating he would go back to the cave and update us on what he found. This was the last page on the website. The assumption to be made is that Ted died in the cave, but this version of Ted was not real. This website was a story made by the real Ted Hedgeman, telling the fictitious tale of his obsession and death at the hands of a supernatural cave. These internet horror stories would boom, being made at an exceptionally fast rate in the 2000s to 2010s, and reaching such heights as getting its own term coined to describe them: creepypasta. The word is a combination of creepy and copypasta, which is a spread around story on the internet. The assumption made from the word is that creepypastas are horror stories that are spread around the internet. From this boom, we would get figures like Slenderman, Jeff the Killer, Eyeless Jack, Smile Dog, and many more. Creepypastas were a phenomenon that made many people's careers on YouTube. Some of these stories were great little horror stories. Some lasted years, and the rest were Jeff the Killer. Jeff the Killer, Eyeless Jack, Tiki Toby, Jane the Killer, etc. were spread around the internet like wildfire, despite the fact that these stories themselves aren't very good at all. The bad creepypastas, however, gained massive fan bases. Children latched onto these characters and made them cute anime-fied versions of themselves. And while there was and has been a counter-movement to preserve the dignity of Jeff the Killer, most of the public sees these characters still as the anime versions of themselves, for better and for worse. This rise of bad creepypasta led to gaming creepypasta. Gaming creepypasta are known for being inconsistent in how good they are. Stories like Godzilla NES are regarded as great, while Sonic.exe is Sonic.exe. Video game creepypastas started a whole EXE trend, where you would take any character or property and pop EXE at the end, and suddenly you have a creepy character with bleeding eyes. The bleeding eyes wouldn't stop at EXE either, because an equally awful and ridiculous trend would begin, that of The Lost Episode. The Lost Episode was a trend of creepypasta that would state a cartoon had a terrifying lost episode that depicted horrible deaths or Squidward with bleeding eyes. These trends would eventually die out, but when they were big, they were huge. But after a while, creepypasta would be a bygone era. Binge Round lasted a while longer, but like the rest, it also faded into the past. But something happened. The horrors of creepypasta came back, and in a somewhat unexpected way. I'm going to split this video into two parts, but don't worry, it's not in the game theory, wait to see if Luigi is actually Rosalina's dad way, but in the same video, I'm going to talk about the return of EXE type series and the remakes of a creepypasta you may be familiar with. These series have been coined by a new term, digital horror. It takes the computer and puts a scary turn to it, warping the forgotten parts of the internet into a horrific, twisted version. First, I want to talk about the return of the .exe type series. While EXE died long ago, it came back, with the twist of using nostalgia for graphics of old video games, and using those graphics, which are very blocky and for lack of a better word, crappy, to tell a terrifying story. The first of these is a channel by the name of Gunslinger Pro 2009. In creepypasta, it was a common story of having your game be haunted and something malicious be in the game, torturing the poor player. But Gunslinger Pro asks a different question. What if the game was alive, but the player was the malicious one? The channel begins innocently enough with a video about a sniper being a book. This video is reminiscent of old Gmod machinimas with surrealist humor that is short and doesn't make sense. It is notable to mention that this video was deleted because of the book model used. The series is supposed to take place in 2009, given the name, and the model used in the video was made in 2014. So, it was replaced. The next video begins like the last, with a surreal joke being set up. However, the ragdoll doesn't comply and bangs on the screen, being knocked down by Gunslinger, and the video ends. The ragdoll's movements are pretty creepy, and the look of horror on the spy's face seem to imply that Gunslinger has been torturing these ragdolls for a while. The next video shows the spy's punishment, being used in a walking tutorial that seems to go fine at first until the spy tries to run away. It's also notable to show this soldier ragdoll begging for his life before being deleted by Gunslinger. The next episode's title is that of a Steam screen recording file that places this upload in 2010 and shows an upside-down view of some maze that ends in a mirror, revealing that the spy was tortured and turned into some kind of crab monster. After breaking the mirror, the spy finds a blue heavy and medic, and then is killed by Gunslinger, ending the story of the spy. However, there is more to this series. In the next upload, we see just a normal surreal machinima of a sniper being turned into a horrific sentry-like creature, and with the added context of these ragdolls being alive, it makes this more horrifying. Next is a sled tutorial, which seems fine aside from knowing that these ragdolls are alive, until the end, where a heavy ragdoll tries to congratulate Gunslinger but instead is slammed around, most definitely killing him. Then we have Engineerland, which is probably the most mundane in the series aside from seeing the blue medic and heavy from Spy's torture and some slight movement from the ragdoll showing they're still alive. Then there is the tank building tutorial, which is the most brutal upload in the series. In this tutorial, we see Gunslinger teach us how to make a working tank in Gmod. You can tell that something is off and that the NPCs, much like the ragdolls, are alive. After the tutorial, we are given a demonstration where Gunslinger brutally kills these NPCs, seemingly knowing they're alive as they beg for their lives. Finally, an NPC sacrifices itself to blow up the tank and kill Gunslinger. This is the final episode in the series so far, and by the gaps already evident in each upload, it's safe to say we haven't heard the last from Gunslinger. Gunslinger Pro is very reminiscent of the EXE creepypastas of the past, a game that is seemingly haunted. It also takes the concepts of other Gmod horror ARGs and flips them on their heads, having instead of an evil force in the game, there is an evil force playing it. Next, and to continue our dive into the digital horrors of creepypasta-type content, is Lacey's Wardrobe. In the 2000s, there was a major rise in Flash games, which were popularized by Newgrounds. There have been horror series that have mimicked the style of Flash games like Ches Kids, but I want to focus on this video by Ghost Tundra called Lacey's Wardrobe Lost 2006 Flash Game. In this video, we see old gameplay of said Flash game with everything being fine at first, as it just seems to be a normal dress-up game. Until we get to the park for a picnic and see this eerie face in the background staring at Lacey. When we start to dress her up for the mall to go shopping, she gets a terrifying call from some guy.
Lacey, did you see my stacks, Lacey? I can't wait to meet up, Lacey. I want to have a good time tonight with you, Lacey. Tonight. Bye-bye.
We know she's going on a date with the cutest guy, but geez, Lacey. This? Really? Despite the terrifying call, she goes shopping alone, telling us in a glitch that he's going to kill her. We then dress her up as she begs not to go outside, but it's too late. We, the player, bring her outside, where she says simply, "What have you done?" And then she is murdered and eaten by the stalker. ending with the stalker talking about how now they can be together forever. This video gives a terrifying view into a corrupted Flash game. The series is much longer than just this video, but even so, this one stands on its own, as the game seemed to tell an anthology story of different horrors using the Lacey name. But as we have videos that show the past with new characters, how about a view of the past with a character we all know very well? Slender Man was and is probably the most famous creepypasta character ever created. He even got his own film. It's not good at all, but he got it. Slender Man, as you may know, was first created in a Something Awful forum during a Photoshop contest. The first images of him showed him sneaking around children in black and white photographs. These aspects of his story would be translated into a series called Morally Grove. Morally Grove is a digital horror created by Remy Abode, who also made Gemini Home Entertainment. In this series, we are shown rumors on the ancient internet of a morally man who kidnaps children, and the first video shows the distorted faces of images of children who were seemingly taken by him. We even see what seems to be the morally man in the background. The next video gives us a montage of the birthday of a kid named Dustin in 2005. It's very eerie despite the background music being "You Are My Sunshine." It's so hard to take that song seriously now. And we get a flash of Dustin on the swings, showing that there is something tall behind him. This isn't the last we see of Dustin either. In the next video, we see a website depicting all of the people the morally man has taken, their faces distorted by him. From this video, we can infer that the morally man has been taking children and erasing the memory of them from physical media. Though, from the comments at the end, we can assume that the memories of them are still kept. The next video shows us a 911 call between an operator and a child we cannot hear, its voice being turned into screams.
Do you know who they are? Okay, are you safe right now?
The police arrive at the house where the call was made, only to be told that there are no children there. While some people interpret this as the memory of kids being erased from their parents' minds when they're kidnapped, I'm going to argue, based on the previous and subsequent uploads, that this 911 call was made by a fragment of the kid, like a ghost. But I don't think they are ghosts in the traditional sense. In the next video, titled Morally Ghost, we see a dark room. A cat shows up. Hi, cat. Could this cat be the morally man in disguise? Well, before we can ponder this earth-shattering revelation, we are presented with a scary figure in the darkness. The next episode elaborates on this video with a redo of Dustin's birthday tape. This time, Dustin seems to be mangled behind the blur, and as the video progresses, we are shown that Dustin has been erased from these photos. It's also strange how the video is marked for 2010 when the previous was 2005. The video ends showing the swing photo from before. However, now Dustin and the morally man are gone. My theory for this series is that the morally man kidnaps children. In the third episode, we are shown he can do it in a blink of an eye, and mangles them, perhaps feasting on them, and leaves a broken, fragmented memory of them behind. He seems fully malevolent and aware of the horribleness of his actions due to him taunting Dustin's family with the 2010 upload. Dustin himself, I would assume, as a spirit, came to his old house on Morley Drive and found that his family had moved. Startled by the pain and revelation he might be dead, he calls the police, who arrive to a confused couple who have no children. Of course, that's only my theory on the series so far, and as more content is produced, the likelihood of me being right is sure to diminish. Though creepypasta may have been left as an internet relic, it has returned in its own new and creative form of horror. These videos are only a fragment of the rising trend of digital horror, and I am excited to see what happens in the future. If you liked the video, please be sure to like it and turn the notification on so you're notified of a new upload. Goodbye.